All right. Islam. Assalamu alaikum. May the makeup. All right. Moors and Masonry. My earphones plugged in. Okay, you're not sounding right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. What about now? I'm not on speaker. What she? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. What she? How about? All right. 1, 2, 3. Islam. All right, good. That sounds great. Good. How's everyone? All right, we're going to have more people coming in. I have today's lesson is on Moors and Masonry. We have heard, I was talking to a brother on Saturday at Black and Nobel at Philadelphia. And I was telling him about the Moorish supremacy and dominance over mercantile, trade, commerce during the 15, 16, 1700s. And I said to him that our people had Europeans in bondage. We seized their ships. We had them at captivity. There were exchange of captives. There were tribute treaties where Europeans were paying us annual tributes to travel the high seas unmolested. And he said his response was, I don't believe that's so. Now, what does that response mean? I don't believe that's so. What does that mean? Then he asked me where I get my information from. I said from historical societies, National Archives, and the scholars that I reference, they get their information from National Archives of France, Britain, England, Germany, the Netherlands, historical societies. And so his claim was, he said, I don't believe that. I don't believe that our people would enslave our own people, and I don't believe that our people would enslave Europeans. We couldn't do things like that. We couldn't. We were sublime. We couldn't. We didn't do that. We didn't enslave our Europeans. We didn't have battles with our. We only had battles with Europeans. We didn't have battles among ourselves. This, he was trying to paint this utopia. All right, but his response to the information is, I don't believe that's so. Now, you have in your hand, Ashley. I'll let you have in your hand. This, I have tons of references and Moors and Masonry. So if someone says to you, which they're going to do, I don't believe that's so. All right? How do you know that's true? A sister, I was in Dunkin' Donuts about 2 weeks ago, an elderly sister, and I was telling her about the Moorish supremacy and dominance during the 15, 16, 1700s, and she questioned my references. And I said, my references from National Archives, historical societies, Library of Congress. And she said, well, how do you know that the information that's in the references is true? So I said to her, my sister, how do you know what you know? How do you know what you are claiming to know to be true? what are your references? I mean, my question is just as fair as hers. My question is just as fair as hers. Oh, you know, I learned this in school. Oh, all right. Did you ever question anything that you learned in school? Oh, no. Interesting. All right. So I'm doing this to give you some strategies. That's all. I'm giving you some strategies. Those who are listening to me by Blog Talk, give me some strategies. All right. This book has buku references. I list over 100 books. I have treaties between England and Morocco, about 5 or 6 of them, the entire treaties. I have the list of treaties between Morocco and the Netherlands, Morocco and France. I have those treaties, but they're in French. The Dutch treaties are in Dutch. That's why I didn't put them in here. I was trying to find, several years ago, someone to translate the Dutch treaties in Dutch into English. The treaties are in French into French. I was going to use a program, and one of my former co-workers who speaks French, she said that those programs aren't any good. And she did translation stuff, and that she didn't have time to do the translation for me. So that's why they use those programs. She said those programs don't give exact translation. So that's why they use those programs. All right? I have on the board here, this is the Ottomans in Europe, published in the History Review issue number 39, March 2001. Quote here: "Now shalt thou feel the force of Turkish arms, which lately made all Europe quake for fear." This is 1500s. This is during the 1500s, from 1520 to 1565. This time period here. All right. Now, the claim is that the Portuguese, the Spaniards, the French, the Dutch, and the English transported 10 million Africans from the continent of Africa to North America, Central America, South America, and the Eurassian Islands. Is that the claim? All right, I say that's the claim. I didn't say is that claim true. I'm saying that's the claim, right? It's a claim. All right, that's interesting. Interesting. Once again, now shalt thou feel the force of Turkish arms, which lately made all Europe quake for fear. Now, in order for the Portuguese, the Spaniards, the Dutch, the English, and the French to embark on such an enormous venture of transporting millions from the continent of Africa to the Americas, they would have to have supremacy and dominance over the seas. Is that true? They would have to have supremacy and dominance over the seas. I show you in Moors of Masonry that they did not. They would have to have, that's a huge adventure of bringing 10,000, 50,000, 20,000, 100,000, keep back and forth, 300 years. This is why they cover this up. It doesn't fly. The transatlantic story doesn't fly in the face of this information. You would have to be in supremacy and dominance. The claim that's made in textbooks is that the Portuguese and Spaniards were in supremacy and dominance over the seas, trade, mercantile, seafaring, and commerce during the 1500s. And I'm saying I'll show you through documentary evidence that the Turkish and Moors were in supremacy and power during that time period over the seas. There were battles, wars, changing of captives. I'll see the European ships. Linda Cowley, professor of history at Princeton University. She was at Yale in the 70s. one of her books titled Captive, Britain, Empire, and the World, 1600 to 1850. She was under verbal attack by her European male co-workers because they don't want this out. She focuses on captivity narratives. Europeans who were held in Moorish captivity, either those who escaped or were ransomed, wrote captivity. They wrote their journals. So she publishes that. I'm going to read a book review on this book, Captive, Britain, Empire, and the World, 1600 to 1850. I reference her in Moors and Masons. All right, here we go. All right. Cowley's thesis is that the unprecedented military success and world political and economic domination achieved by the Victorian British has blinded us to the smallness and vulnerability of Britain in the preceding 2.5 decades. After all, she points out, as late as 1715, the British Army was no longer than that commanded by the King of Sardinia, while at the same period there were at least 20,000 British civilians enslaved in the Barbary sultanates of North Africa. It is significant that this surprises us as much as it does. It is as if the Victorians colonized not just 1/4 of the globe, but also more permanently our imaginations, to the exclusion of all other images of British encounter and collision with the wider world from the Elizabethan period onward. Cowley shows the extent to which tales of British weakness and defeat at the hands of the sophisticated Muslim states in North Africa, the Middle East, India, have been consciously edited out of historical records. Let me read it again. Cowley shows the extent to which tales of British weakness and defeat at the hands of sophisticated Muslims, that's us, states in North Africa, the Middle East, India, have been constantly edited out of historical records. Stanley Poole, P-O-L-L-E, has a book titled Medieval India Under Mohammedan Rule. Medieval India under Mohammedan Rule, 712 to 1764. Medieval India, I'll give references. I ain't coming out my butt. I don't come out my butt. I'll give references upon references upon references. Medieval India under Mohammedan Rule, 712 to 1764. Stanley Poole. All right? Continue. So, for example, we remember our various military triumphs in and around Bombay, but have performed a collective act of amnesia about another far more important colony gained at the same time, 1661, Tangier, part of the dowry of Catherine of Braganza, with its bowling greens, pubs, and Anglican churches. It was once the pride of British intended the medieval Mediterranean Empire, but was humiliatingly lost to the Moroccans in 1684, despite unprecedented investment by the Crown in its defenses. So, where's this at in history books? See, when the occupiers of Moorish land, who falsely call themselves Americans, of English, Irish, French, Dutch, German, Portuguese, English, Russian descent, Welsh. When any discussion about Moors, they classified as blacks, Negro colors, and Europeans, who they classified as whites, with any interchange between these people is always subjugated to them. That they either having us in chains, they're either shooting us, hosing us down, whipping us, we're protesting, begging, crying, visuals, it's that. Never do they have any schools, colleges, middle schools, elementary schools. So these professors teach at universities, but their classes are electives. I'm talking about required history classes. I'm talking about where 20,000 students at Yale University, 30,000 students at Yale University, Howard, Yale, whatever schools, all right, are taught this information. That Linda Connolly's curriculum, you have Robert Davis, their classes are elective. They're not required. Yes, they teach at universities. They're not asked to write. Nobody goes to them and asks them to write a chapter in the history textbook. Linda Connolly's well acclaimed. 16 words. I mean, Linda Connolly's well respected in her field. She got buku awards. Where's her chapter at in the history textbook that's used in schools, whether in suburban schools or middle or inner city schools? Why wouldn't the Europeans want Europeans and us to know that we had them in slavery? Why do they want us to know that? Wouldn't they want us to know that? Shouldn't they want us to know that? Why? They don't want you to know your supremacy over them. So that it's psychological. It's a psychological warfare. So that you can see yourself subordinate to them. That you would never see yourself as ever having any supremacy or dominance, but they were paying you annual tribute. Whether you were seizing their ships, the Shriners Parade that they have annually is a celebration of your defeat. That's a mockery of your defeat and fall. They have these Corvettes. They have the little Corvettes, miniature Corvettes, and the actual car Corvettes. Why Corvettes? Why are Corvettes used in the Shriners Parade? The Corvettes are used because a Corvette is a little ship. And those Corvettes is what you traveled in on the seas up to their ships, and you would climb onto the ships and take over the ships. So they are playing out history in the parade. Page 43. So this is the Indianapolis parade, the China Parade, 2013. 2013. The Corvettes aren't there. And they also have the models. The model of the parade at the George Washington Masonic National Memorial Museum in Alexandria, Virginia. All right? So the clowns are used because the clowns symbolize diplomacy between the Moors and the European powers. Clowns were not, they're called court jesters. They were not just a bunch of funny men, just to make you laugh. They had a role in diplomacy. They accompanied the various kings or ambassadors and gave advice. They were looked upon and asked for advice in issues of diplomacy. Clowns are everywhere. Patrice Otto, it's in the book. Clowns Are Everywhere by Patrice Otto. She chronicles the use of clowns throughout the world, and they're important in the diplomacy. They were not just a bunch of funny men. That's why they use the clowns. Once you understand the history, the parade makes sense. I didn't know that when I went to the parade in 2013. I learned this while I was at the parade, after the parade, and I got to work. I said, this is, yep. That's why. So they have this annual parade celebrating your defeat, and they just play the history right in front of you. Of course, we don't know the history, so it's just a parade. While I was at the parade, a 5-year-old girl, she's probably 8 or 9 now. She was I was news streaming it on my phone, live, and she said to her mother, he had Europeans, hundreds of Europeans wearing your feathers. Procession, actually a couple thousand. It was that long line. I mean, wow. She said, "Look, mommy, they're wearing the Shriners hat." So that little girl, who's 5 years old, 9 years old right now, she'll tell you, Mister, man, you got the Shriners hat on. She see a bunch of Europeans, and she'll ask you why you wearing it. You ain't European. Why you wearing that? You ain't European. Why you wearing that? I'm talking about her mom. I'm talking about her mom. She's social nation, but she see hundreds Europeans now wearing the fez in procession. All right? So she's going to associate the fez with Europeans. It's socialization, bro. She's going to associate the fez with Europeans, and ask you why you wearing it. She sees the Shriners. She sees the Shriners Hospital commercial, and she's European wearing the fez, so she's going to associate the fez with Europeans. I mean, it's logical to do that. I mean, it's not logical. They show the commercial all the time. European wearing your fez. The logo for the Shriners Hospital. European male, but they're holding up a child. I mean, come on. Absolutely. So, continue right along. Robert Davis. And a professor, I'm going to write Robert Davis, Linda Connolly, Jeffrey Woodard, and a few others. Send them a copy of the book. I'm also going to write an open letter. I'm going to write an open letter to the director of the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, an open letter to the director of the Independence Hall, director of the George Washington National Memorial, open letter. All right? The letters that I'm going to write to the director of the National Archives, National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, they spent $189 million to build that building. It's a block long block, long building. Make a suggestion, talk about my experience of teaching nationality and history to over 5,000 students in Kansas City Public School. Send a copy of the book. Suggest that they have a exhibit, the Moorish, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship exhibit between Morocco and the United States, 1787. Suggest they have an exhibit. I'm not going to invite, why y'all covering up this history? I'm not doing that. Make it, then you back them into a corner, and then you're not going to have any level of communication. All right? So do things that are more mainstream. All right, Robert Davis, professor of Italian Renaissance history. On the back cover I have a brother, Chief, draw this picture for me. 4 Europeans bound in chains around their neck, and a Moor wearing on the right side, holding up a scimitar, wearing a fez, and a Moor on the left side wearing a turban. This depicts true history. I'm not making fun of Europeans. I'm not disrespecting Europeans. I have supported literature that supports this picture. All right? Not making fun of Europeans. This is depicted. They should be happy. They should welcome this. Now, we're explaining the true history here. Well, I don't expect them to welcome this. Why not? I don't expect them to welcome this. I don't expect them to jump up and down. I don't expect them to be all happy. Why not? It's the true history now. Why not? Because it puts you in a position of power. And they know that your defeat is their rise. Their fall is your rise. We are captives. We are prisoners of war in our own land. We are prisoners of war in our own land. We had wars with them, battles, series of wars lasting several hundred years. We control our Andalusia for almost 800 years. 4 or 5 Moorish dynasties. The book, The Moorish Empire, The History of the Moorish Empire in Europe by S.P. Scott. The History of the Moorish Empire in Europe by S.P. Scott. All right, continue right along. Any questions before I go on? I want you to see your supremacy, Moorish supremacy and dominance. We always talk about Europeans holding us in captivity. Europeans, let's change the playing field. Let's let our people know that they were once in power. In relationship to the Europeans, I'm not talking about you being in power, and then you over there in Africa. No, I'm talking about in relationship to the Europeans. When I say more supremacy and dominance, I'm talking about over them. Let me be clear what I'm saying now. I'm talking about over them. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about more supremacy and dominance, and you over here by yourself and have no contact with Europeans. No. A brother said to me about a month ago, the class in Philadelphia, maybe 5 weeks ago, so young brother, 16 years old, 17 years old. He said, Abdullah, they don't teach. He said they only teach European history in schools. I said that's not true. I said, that's not true. European history is not taught in the schools either. Huh? European history is not taught in the school either. You can't teach European history without teaching about what? Who? No, not us first. Us with them. Us with them. It ain't Europeans over here, European history. It ain't Moors over here, Moorish history. That's a false paradigm. Yeah, Moorish history, European history. That paradigm is false. The paradigm is false. There's no discussion about Europeans without the Moors. There's no discussion about Europeans without the Moors. You can't talk European history without talking about you. To do that is a false paradigm. All right? They created these false paradigms. European history over here, Moorish history, the paradigm is false. The Golden Age of the Moors, edited by RVBey, selection of 20 articles. In the back of the Golden Age of the Moors, the bibliography is 40 pages long. 40 pages of bibliography. The Golden Age of the Moors. medical treatises. 30 volumes of medical treatises. Surgery. And 800, 900, 1,000, 1,100. Poetry. They got that from us. Grammar, literacy. Poor people were able to get a pristine education. That included Europeans. We educated all of Europe. Marketplace. The paper we got from China. We had exchange, commercial exchange in China, with China. 800, 900, 1,000. India. So I'm talking about this world rulership. I'm not talking about some empty little place. World rulership. How did the Europeans come into world rulership and dominance? By defeating who? That's a fact, Jack. And that's documented. Paved streets. Paper mills. Cordova had a library of over 600,000 books. What we did in translating ancient Egyptian texts, Chinese texts, into Arabic, we made knowledge available to a wide body of people through production by developing paper mills, which means you're able to produce books. Papyrus is more expensive at a cheaper rate. 17 libraries in Cordova. Hospitals. Paved streets. Lights. We did that. Pipes. Irrigation. Horticulture. Poetry. Surgery. We did that. Where's this weakness during this time period? Oh yeah, you know the African kings sold Africans into slavery. See, look at the paradigm they're creating. Weakness. Yeah, the Europeans went over there to Africa and they destroyed everybody. Weakness. See, weakness. See, weakness. Look how they're writing their history. So you can see yourself as weak, subordinate. I'm saying that's not true. Book. Authors unknown. Conquest of the Moors, A Discovery of America, and Outgrowth of the Conquest of the Moors. Discovery of America and Outgrowth of the Conquest of the Moors. The title's revealing. All right? I want to see if I can find this. All right. You have the Imperial Divan. I list about 4 or 5 treaties, articles coming from 4 or 5 treaties where the word divan appears, showing you documentary evidence. All right? The Moorish divan is a Moorish council of government. The European occupiers of Moorish land, called the United States, is running the Moorish government and using the Moorish structure of government today. This is your structure. The structure that they use is your structure. They are camouflaging it. They replaced the word divan with the term presidential cabinet. Since you don't know the structure of your government, you don't see it in function. You don't see the structure that's in front of your face. You see presidential cabinet, you don't know the structure, so you don't see it. You think that they established that. You don't know the origin of anything. Looking for the divan. Here it is, right here. All right. Articles of Peace between Great Britain and Algiers, October 30th, 1664. 1664. That from this day and forever forward there be, Article 1, that from this day and forever forward there be a good and firm peace between His Sacred Majesty the King of Great Britain and the Bashar, all right, Divan, and governors of Algiers and the dominions thereunto belonging. See, the word Divan. That's page 123. 123. All right? So, right, Divan is spelled D-I-V-A-N. D-I-V-A-N. This is the Moorish. The Divan is this is the national executive, the Moorish national executive body. The Moorish national executive body. The Majlis, M-A-J-L-I-S, is the Moorish national legislative body. The European occupiers, the United States is functioning the pure Divan Moorish government in a trusteeship capacity. Trusteeship capacity. You know the Divan as the presidential cabinet. They substituted Divan with the term presidential cabinet. The head, as appointed by the Emperor of Morocco, the head, going to the structure, of the Divan is Grand Vizier. The Grand Vizier, I'll spell it, is substituted, the occupiers, W-A-Z-I-R, V-I-Z-I-R, V-I-Z-I-E-R, variations. They substituted the term Grand Vizier with the word president. Barack Obama is the substitute Grand Vizier. Donald Trump is the substitute Grand Vizier elect. This is the structure. They just substituted. This structure has been in place for several thousand years. This is not new. That you don't know the structure, so they just don't, that's what they do. If you study etymology, you begin to see all the Europeans are doing is just transliterating words. They're not making things up. They're just taking that which already exists and transliterating it. Pater. This is a transliteration. I'm just saying words and you don't understand. So let me explain. All right? This is what they do. The word pater, Latin. The P in Latin transliterates to the F in English, based on phonology and morphology. We'll get into that a little later. The T in Latin transliterates to the TH in English. They're not making up a new word in and of itself. They're taking that which already exists and translating, changing. It's a sound shift. A sound shift and a shift in morphology and form. So that which they did this with our structure of government. They took that which already existed and what? Substituted what? Terms. Divan, presidential cabinet. Grand Wazir, president. Then you have Wazirs. Wazirs. They substitute what? Secretary. Secretary. You have other body policies which would use prime minister. Instead of using the word president, they use the word prime minister. That's the Grand Wazir, prime minister. All right? Other bodies use what? Minister instead of secretary. The structure was already in place. They didn't create a new structure. They're using that which already existed. So the presidential cabinet, Defense Department, Commerce Department, Urban Housing and Development Affairs Department, Labor Department, those are yours. That's the divine. That's yours. They're functioning our government in a trusteeship capacity. So, as I said before, let me get a seat here, chair. The chair, the seat that they sit in, right? The seat, that's Morocco, Moorish seat of government. Those who sit in the seat are United States representatives. See, we got to make that clear. We keep saying United States, but we're not clarifying for the people. The seat ain't United States. The office ain't United States. Those who are sitting in the office are United States representatives, not the office. The seat is Morocco. We spoke to the head. You giving your government rights to them too? You want to give them your government too? You calling your government United States? You calling the seat United States? You gonna give them your government too? You calling the seat United States? Seat's not United States. Those are more seats of government that United States representatives are sitting in. So when you see the House of Representatives on TV, talk about the seats. That's yours. But all those Europeans are United States representatives sitting in your seats. If I got to say this a million times, I'll say this until I go to my grave. I'll write it, but do whatever I have to do to get it through our heads. I'll say it till I go to my grave. So we got to be clear when we say United States. Because the problem is that we're thinking that the seat is United States also. Trust me, bro, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I can interview 100 nationalized Moors. I will guarantee you that they ain't got this concept. I would guarantee you. I would guarantee you that they will refer to the seat as United States. I would guarantee you. I would guarantee you that they will not make the distinction. The question is, what does this past election have to do with the Moors? It has everything to do with the Moors. Why? Talk to me. Give me an answer. What did this past election have to do with the Moors? Answer the question. Be more. I just gave you the whole layout, brother. I just gave you the whole layout. I just spent 15 minutes of this whole layout, claiming that this is our government, the seat's ours. Donald Trump is now the substitute Grand Wazir-elect. I gave you the answer. Just gave it to you right now. I just gave you the answer just now. I just gave you the answer. Once again, I'm asking the question again. What does this past election have to do with the Moors? I just gave you the answer 30 seconds ago. Donald Trump was elected to the seat of the what? Moorish Grand Vizier. What seat was he elected to? He wasn't elected to no United States seat, but you think he was elected? If you think he was elected to some United States seat, you're smoked in the head, brother. You're smoked in the head, brother. Donald Trump was not elected to no United States seat. Donald Trump was not elected to no United States government. That don't exist. How are you going to elect to something that don't exist? The United States is a fiction on paper. There ain't no government. I don't know no government called the United States. See how they got us? Once again, you keep giving them your government. You keep giving them your government. So you saying United States. United States. United States. Donald Trump was elected to a seat of the United States. No, he wasn't. Donald Trump was not elected to no office in the United States. He was elected to your office. They're running it in functioning it in a trusteeship capacity. They don't want you to know that. The key is to get the Moors, who are classified as black, living color, and the nationalized Moors, to disassociate themselves from the government. That's the whole key. So as long as you keep saying United States without clarification, if you don't clarify, they won't smile on you. I guarantee you, if I were to take y'all to a freedmen group, these European freedmen groups, they don't teach nationality. As long as you say United States, they're going to smile at you. As long as you say United States, even if you say United States Republic, they're going to smile at you. Yeah, United States Republic. Yeah, United States Republic. But as soon as you say Moorish Republic, they will diss you because it happened to me. They will diss you. But as long as you say United States Republic, they will clap you, they will pound you, hug you, kiss you, whatever. As soon as you say Moorish Republic, they will diss you. It happened to me. They're playing you. They want you to restore the republic for them. They're not teaching you the true history. Give me any European freedmen group, sovereignty group site and show me on any site where they're teaching the true history. Give me any site. Without the history, I'm telling you, the history is key. Because you're going to continue. They're still pushing that they're founders. Yeah, we're the founders of this great country. Yeah, our great founding fathers of this great country. Robert Morris, Alexander Hamilton, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, our great founding fathers. As soon as you go to a European freedmen group and challenge that claim, they will diss you. As long as you continue to push that false history and this United States crap without clarification of what it is, they will forever love you because they want you to help them to restore the republic for themselves. They're going to use you as pawns. You are a pawn. They will welcome you in their house. They will kick your ass out till you say Moorish Republic. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. When you say Moorish Republic, trust me, you will not be invited back. And you do go back, they will make it uncomfortable. And so uncomfortable for you. So uncomfortable for you that you wouldn't want to go back. Trust me, you ain't going to be going back because they will make it, trust me, they will make it uncomfortable for you. That you won't be going back. All right? So don't let them play y'all. Let them use your energy so that you can push their agenda. You better push your agenda. This is the Moorish Republic. You better use the national name. You better push your agenda. So you're pushing their agenda by saying United States Republic. That's not the national name. What's the name of this country? Oh, it's not United States? Oh, all right, well, there you go. There you go. All right? So, at Davan, the Shriners use the term Imperial Davan. They adopted the Davan and use it as the structure of their organization. Where did they get that from? I show you its references in treaties. I'll show you where they got it from. I'm showing you the Moorish connection. So these brothers, our brothers who are Shriners, are smoked in the head. They don't know the Moorish origin of the Davan. They think it belongs to the shrine. That's as the origin, not the origin of it. All right? Any questions before I go on? Criticism. I don't know what I'm talking about. Rastafari don't like Abdullah back anymore. Whatever, you know. All right? I'm showing you. I'm not just saying it. I'm showing it. I'm not just coming. I'm showing you. Let me give you more references. All right, Robert Davis, professor of Italian Renaissance history, Ohio State University. The statement of Europeans doesn't fit the general theme of European world conquest and colonization that is central to scholarship on the early modern era. Read it again. The enslavement of Europeans doesn't fit the general theme of European world conquest and colonization that is central to scholarship on the early modern era. He wrote, one of his books is titled White Slaves, Muslim Master. White Slaves, Muslim Master. That's one of his titles of his book. All right? I'm going to continue here. This is Juro. This is on page 99 in the box. Joel McLean and Nadir Matar, M-A-N-A-B-I-L, Matar, M-A-T-A-R. The book is titled Britain and the Islamic World, 1558 to 1713. Oh, it looks like it was during the transatlantic slave trade period story, right? 1558 to 1713. Britain and the Islamic World. Quote, to English theater audiences, the figure of Al-Masar was the Emperor of Morocco during the time period of Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth. 16 was in the late 1500s to early 1600s. He and Queen Elizabeth had extensive diplomatic relations. It was under his reign that he negotiated where the powder that the English used to defeat the Spanish Armada in 1588 came from Morocco, came from us. Where's this in history books? They wrote several letters between each other. The English theater audiences, the figure of Al-Mansur appeared as a formidable figure, commanding respect for his wealth, military strength, and political acumen. Between 1588 and 1603, the year in which he died, numerous plays were performed in England featuring powerful male Moorish protagonists. After the Elizabethan period, Moorish characters would never again play such an important and complex role as they did in the Battle of Alcazar, 1589, Titus Andronicus, 1591 to 1592, The Merchant of Venice, 1596, Lutz, the Minion, 1599 to 1600, Othello, 1602, The Fair Maid of the West, 1600 to 1603. So they started plays that came after that, they cast us as weak. They wanted to paint that mindset of weak, submissive, subordinate, psychological. Showing you psychological. You start seeing yourself as, man, we were in power like that? We had that much power? Damn. Wow. All right. Hanging right along. This is Milton Giles, White Gold, The Extraordinary Story of Thomas Pellow and Islam's 1 Million White Slaves. Morocco was not the only place in North Africa where white captives were held as slaves. Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli also had thriving slave auctions in which thousands of captives were put through their paces before being sold to the highest bidder. The wretched men, women, and children came from the right across Europe, from as far afield as Iceland and Greece, Sweden and Spain. Many had been seized at sea by the infamous Barbary corsairs. Many more had been snatched from their homes in surprise raids. Almost 6 years were to pass before I first began to search for written records of the Barbary slaves. I had assumed that such archives, if they had ever existed, would have disappeared long ago. But it gradually became apparent that a great many letters and journals had survived. There were plaintive descriptions of the ordeal of slave labor and blood-chilling reports of audiences with Moroccan sultans. There were anguished recollections of the macabre humor of the slave merchants and petitions from slave widows that begged for mercy and relief. I even found missives writings by the Sultan himself, the Grand Liquid tracts demanding that the King of Britain and France convert to Islam. So what I'm showing you here is our supremacy and dominance during this 15, 16, 1700s. If you, once again, you get the response that you're going to get, that's not so. That means nothing. They won't be able to challenge you because they don't know this information. So they really can't mount up any challenge at all because they haven't studied this, so they don't even know that information exists. So that's not so. That means nothing. They can't just dismiss these references. All right, hang right along. Gerald McLean and Nabir and Matar, Britain in the Islamic world, 15 to 58, 1713, another quote. For decades and well into the 18th century, which is the 1700s, English and Morocco envoys, rulers, and writers looked back at the cooperation between Elizabeth and Al-Mansur and remembered them as monarchs who had been able to move beyond religious polarization towards mutually beneficial diplomatic and military cooperation. The Moroccans would long remember the Christian queen who had tried to reconfigure alliances beyond religious differences. Nevertheless, Elizabeth was the first and last Christian ally that any Muslim ruler ever embraced. Her death marked a sea change in diplomatic relations between England and the Islamic world. No subsequent monarch would play such a personally direct and active role in negotiations with Muslim rulers. From then on, it would be the ambassadors and officials of the trading companies who would set the agenda for Anglo-Islamic relations. James and the Stuart monarchs who followed him to the throne, or what he was first to claim as Great Britain, did not engage in the same kind of rigorous and personal extolatory exchange with Muslim leaders that had served Elizabeth and their merchants so well. When King James, in 1603, rose to the throne after Queen Elizabeth's 1601 death, he saw Queen Elizabeth as her position as being weak in relationship to us. You know, she didn't take, in his opinion, that she didn't take a strong stance against Moorish enslavement of Europeans. So King James, he did a 180, and his position was strong in relationship to them with Morocco. And so he sought to seek the freedom of English captives that held in our captivities. So where's this in history books? This is history. I mean, European history. I can classify this under European history. European history. I could tag it European history, Moorish history. No, I mean, tag it European history. I'm showing you. I mean, all right. The relationship that we have with the diplomacy, the extensive diplomacy. All right. So you have here, continuing. Any questions before I go on? I bought 20 altogether. Right? Yes. Edward VIII established the Trinity House. The Trinity House of Bedford. The Trinity House of Bedford, what that did was they raised finance, to deal with the captivity issue. And they also recorded the transaction. You can look at it, I have references in the book, the Trinity House of Bedford. So these coming from primary sources. This was Moorish captivity of Europeans was a major issue all throughout Europe. They have covered this up. This was not some little known issue. You had the wives of the captors, European male captors, who were pleading. And Queen Elizabeth was in power, and there was a French king, and King Charles of France, King Charles I of England, Charles II of England. They were pleading, begging that they interfere, because these European women, they were poor. They couldn't afford, the ransom. So you had charity organizations that were established. Religious orders were established. And this is where the concept of passing the plate, where that comes from. Let's go back there. The passing the plate or having a charity box at the entrance of the church. The origin of that is to raise finance to get Europeans. Of course, they don't do that today because the history's been lost. They're not in captivity right now. They're not in Moorish captivity. All right? So the knowledge of their existence has been lost. It was the money was raised, but money was collected to pay for a ransom. You had priests who would go on redemption missions. The Trinity, you have the Trinity, the order of the Trinitarian. The Trinitarian was established in 1193. The Mercedarian was established in 1093 in Spain, and the Trinitarian was established in France in 1193. Now, James Blogman, B-R-O-D-M-A-N, he specializes in captivity during that time period, 1100 to 1400, in Spain. And these were the needs for these orders that were established. And they made many redemption missions. B-R-O-D-M-A-N. James Bodman, he teaches he's retired now. He had taught before he retired at the University of Central Arkansas, professor of history, University of Central Arkansas. He did extensive research. When he was in college, he took 2 or 3 seminars in that area of captivity in Spain during the 1200s, during the 1100s, 1200s. And 1093 and 1085, we lost control of Toledo. And then Seville followed, Cordova, that we were able to hold on to Granada for additional 200 years, and losing that in 1992. But this captivity issue is major. There's an order. Let me look it up. Let me look this up here, because I came across this 2 weeks ago. Let me see. What's the name of this order? James Bodman, Studies of Medieval Captivity and Ransoming Between the Moors and the Europeans in Western Europe. And so he specializes in that. You have these various scholars who would specialize in a particular area of stuff. You can't study everything. Trust me, you can't study everything. There's tons of information. It's lots to study. All right? Where is it? Give me a minute here. Just looking for this. The Secret Medieval. All right. All right, so that's not it. That's not it. Not it. Oh, here it is. I got it. It's titled "The Society of Knights Liberators for the White Slaves of Africa," established by British Admiral Sir Sidney Smith. That was now 1816. 1816. So you're looking at the what they classified as the Barbary Wars, 1801 to 1805. First Barbary Wars, and 18. Then you had the second Barbary Wars, but he established this, the Society of Knights Liberators for the White Slaves of Africa, established by British Admiral Sir Sidney Smith. They were members of all across Europe. I'm going to Michael Oren. I'm going to read something to you. All right, I'll go. Michael Oren. His name is Michael Oren. So since I'm already on this, all right. Michael Oren. He gave a lecture, I think in 2011. Came across this on the website about, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. So this is not in Moors and Mason because I just found this would be in part 2 anyway. This would not have been in part. If I had found this out a year ago, it still would have been in part. It wouldn't have been in part 1 anyway. Part two deals with the history of diplomacy, consular relations, and recognition between Morocco and the United States. That's part 2. That's not part 1. It's not part 1. Part 1 is the diplomatic relations between the Moroccan Empire and the European powers between the 15 and 1800s. That's what I focus on, part 1. Part 2 is the history of recognition, consular relations, and diplomacy between Morocco and the United States. That's part 2. So then he will go on part 2. Michael Oren, in 2011, gave a lecture at his alma mater, Columbia, here in this area, Columbia University. And he did extensive research, which I did too, in Moors and Masonry, part 2. He did extensive research on the history of the United States developing a Navy. One of the major debates in the Continental Congress in the 17s, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, major debate was whether to pay the Moors, continue to pay the Moors annual tribute, or to build a navy. That was a major debate. Michael Oren talks about the debates going on in the state delegates, among the state delegates. There's major debate. The debate was that it would be cheaper to continue to pay us tribute. This was a fear. Michael Oren talked about the fear that the delegates had because, you're looking at we capturing their ships, we sieging them, holding them in captivity. So Thomas Jefferson plays a key role. Thomas Jefferson's position was to put the money for defense. George Washington, who was president, Thomas Jefferson, served under George Washington administration as Secretary of State. He won, at that time, Minister of Foreign Affairs. George Washington wanted to continue to pay the tribute because it would be cheaper. Look, it is expensive to build a navy. It's not cheap. You're talking about frigates. You're talking about training. It's expensive. Thomas Jefferson was looking at the long term. George Washington looking at the short term, so looking at the expense. So in 1797, George Washington signed to law that $688,888.88 was allocated to pay to build 6 frigates. 6 frigates. But this was that. Like I said, the debate was back and forth. It was major. It took a long. And even then, after the frigates were built, because remember it takes a while, Frigates. Look it up. Frigate. Fright. You're looking at ships, huge ships. All right. These would be warships. So $688,888.88. That's 1797. George Washington signed a law to allocate this finance to build 6 frigates. All right. Michael Oren talks about this. Some of this stuff I already knew. I didn't know about this amount of finance, but there's certain things, details I was aware of. All right? So this weakness that we're supposed to have, where's that at? Oh, we were slaves. And, that's what they want you to see yourself as in relation to them. We're the prisoners of war. Right now, yes, we're prisoners of war. But we weren't all, we ain't been prisoners of war for 300, 400 years in relation to them. Oh, no. Oh, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When we lost control of Granada in 1492, they expelled over 600,000 Moors from Spain. But what happened in expelling doctors, horticulturists, poets, they took the knowledge. So Spain when it plummeted because the brain trust was not there anymore. We reorganized under the Sardinian dynasty. Saadian dynasty. A dynasty is a family. A dynasty represents a family. Father passing down to the son, firstborn son, then grandson, great-grandson, great-grandson, the dynasty. All right? That's what's up the dynasty, a family. All right? And then that dynasty fights with it. Then another dynasty rises up, defeats that dynasty. And all right, that's what a dynasty is. So I'll just explain. I spelled it wrong looking for the dynasty. But I can't assume that you know what a dynasty is. Like somebody had asked me that. All right? In 1500. And so we reorganized and took control of the seas. And this is where my book, More Than Makes You, Part 1, talks about, showing our supremacy and dominance in commerce, trade, mercantile, and seafaring during the 1800s. Give you a solid basis to which to challenge the transatlantic slave trade claim. That's where that comes in. So I don't talk about the transatlantic slave trade. I set a foundation which to challenge the claim. Yes, brother. All right. How did they revise it?
Well, it was white slavery. Yeah, it was white slavery. Just became our slavery. We had to be. That's what the president about it.
All right. Anyone else? How did they revise it? That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. I'm showing you. That's it. That's it. So this is how they revised it. He's right. They just simply took you out as if you never existed, as if you never had any wars with them, as if you never had any treaties with them, as if you never seized their ships, as if you never had them at captivity, as if they never were paying you ransom. And they just talk about the diplomatic relations among themselves, England and France and the Netherlands, Spain and England. You know, that's how they just took you out. So as you're reading history in school, you're reading about diplomacy among the European powers. Where do you fit in? Wars among the European powers. Treaties among the European powers. Where do you fit in? That's how they did it. How did they revise it? It took you out. The revision is easy. Just take you out. You don't know your power? So you read about these Europeans. You don't know your power in all of Europe. You don't. But when they talk about the medieval period and Renaissance, and in the textbooks, you don't see yourself at all. You don't hear Moorish anything. European. You see all these European figures. Voltaire, John Locke, these European philosophers, they didn't learn from you. Yeah, Fibonacci, he learned from you. Fibonacci went to Moorish school. Voltaire, they learned from you. Poetry, philosophy, surgery, all that, horticulture, irrigation, they learned from you. So they're taking credit for what we did. They're standing on your shoulders of accomplishments. Yeah. Your great philosopher, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Voltaire, B.S. They learned from you. You built Cambridge. You built Oxford. You built Valencia, the University of Valencia, University of Oxford, Cambridge. You built those. Those are Moorish universities. If I went to Europe today, I would be home. I would be home. Moorish everything, everywhere. Moorish culture everywhere. You cannot go to Europe and say, I'm going to go to Europe and study French culture. Aye. I'm going to go to Europe and study Dutch culture. Aye. I'm going to go to Europe and study German culture. Lie. You're smoked in the head. They do the Moorish dance. You're smoked in the head. Classical music. You're smoked in the head. So they show all these European figures and left you out. So your university, you taught poetry. Poetry was huge. Poetry's huge. The cathedrals, the mosques, the cathedrals and mosques. Let's talk the science. I always wondered why these huge edifices were built. importance of these huge. It dawned on me when I was working on the Illuminati book. And sound. We understood acoustics, the science of acoustics, and understood geometry and how to bring about the perfect acoustics. So you would have 2,000 or 3,000 in a mosque singing, humming, praying. And what? The sound increases the Kundalini energy. We didn't just build, we built it with that knowledge. Literature was pushed in the mosques and cathedrals. We built them. We built the cathedrals. We understood high, complex geometry. But they taking credit. The Fibonacci code. I don't know no Fibonacci. He took credit. He studied on you. Sir Walter Wood Jones studied at the University of Calcutta. Sir Walter Wood Jones studied at the University of Calcutta in 1717. He studying Sanskrit. He was able to trace, show that chart, the language chart of their languages coming from Sanskrit, or where he studied from. So they put their name, they call it the Indo-European languages. They put their name on it. That's all. They put their name on it. So since you don't know the origin of anything, they're claiming your stuff. See, I don't deal with classical music. I deal with rap. That's the white man stuff. I don't deal with classical music. Don't you know that's high mathematics? Based on 1.618, the golden mean, the divine proportion. Understanding the poetry and the music that's connected to that, the way it's spoken. Why do you think the Europeans are so big on that? They got that from us. They understood the poetry and the arts from us. We push the arts. That's why they're pushing the arts, because they got that from us. But we don't know our history, our culture. We don't know anything about ourselves. In fact, we call them white. So since I went there, let me explain for those who haven't heard me before, who have heard me, forgot it, not clear on it. Let's talk about this white. You have the white crown of Upper Egypt. Called the head jet, Hedjet. White refers to supremacy, rulership, and sovereignty. Has nothing to do with complexion. And sovereignty is supremacy. Has nothing to do with complexion. So Europeans who do not know this history, they still benefit. Why? Because they walk around calling themselves white. They check white off. They check white off, and we check black off. We've been conditioned that black and white refer to complexion. Where that come from? Carl Linnaeus, Francois Panera, and Johann Friedrich Boombach. Francois, F-A-F-R-A-N-C-O-I-S, Berner, M-E-B-E-R-N-I-E-R, medical doctor. general craniology, lived in the 1600s. You have Carl Linnaeus, Linnaeus. He wrote the book called Natural Selection in 1752. His protege, Johann 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 Friedrich, Friedrich, Blumenbach, 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 a German anthropologist. A German anthropologist, Johann, and this is the concept of mongoloid, caucasoid, afrosoid, all right, with Francois Pernere. Now, Carl Linnaeus, with this modern scientific classification of black, white, red, yellow. What they did was they classified the human family based on skin tone, cranial size, brain size, hair texture, and phenotype, facial features. His protege, Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, added the classification of Brown in 1795. This is the modern concept of race as we use today, that's used on documents. They have convinced us, indoctrinated us through social engineering that white and black refer to complexions, skin tone. So we'll say, there was 2 white people that ran for president. Yeah? Yeah, 2 white people, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. They went to they represented one, Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, and Donald Trump, the Republican Party. All right? So this is where they came from. These are the fathers of the modern race paradigm. They're racist. These are racist. Francois Pernere, Carl Linnaeus, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach are racist. Anybody who pushes that is a racist. Anyone who pushes this paradigm is a racist. They are the fathers of the modern race paradigm, designed to steal your birthright. There's a movie called The Rabbit-Proof Fence, The Rabbit-Proof Fence, based in Australia. They actually had a long fence for miles long. And the Australians were the Europeans, Australians, all right, and the Aborigines, original people of the land, they would actually go into a process of making them lighter. And they would actually put them in orphanages and would check their back to see how light they were, intermixing. So this was a process. Now, let's go. Where did they get that from? I did that to this is my prelude to this. Where did they get that from? I'm raising my hand. Us. We had European women. We would have hundreds of thousands of European women over the period of centuries now. We're not talking about 5 years, 10 years, over the period of centuries. Where you had various Moorish who would have European women in their harems, 300, 400, 500 of them, who had process, lighten it up. Now they come to look like Osama bin Laden. But they could pick their movies that they all look like Osama bin Laden. You don't see any dark anybody. But they don't want you to see yourself in power. They don't want you to see yourself in power over them. That's a no-no. They don't want you to have pictures like this of having Europeans down in the chain. So this was major about having European women in harem. European women were in the auction blocks. They were, let's say, this is an auction. And so, come with me, brother. You're gonna buy some of these, right? And put them in the harem. He's a wealthy Moor. All right. But he wants the women though. Y'all say y'all European women. All right. So you got European women over here. So you want about 10 of them. 20 for your harem. Yeah. All right. And that's how. And this is real. There would be actually auctions in a courtyard. This is real. I'm not making this. This is real. All right, thank you, brother. So through a process of generations, got lighter. All right. Any questions, comments, criticism? Check the time. 9:19. I need to end a little earlier. So let's talk about this. Are you going to be taking me? Only because people want to get books. I have to sign, so I need time for that. How much time we need to go down there? At least, we're probably about 35. So about what time should it be? 10 o'clock, quarter of 9 should end. Yeah, it'll be down about 11 o'clock. Because that's a process there that I need time. All right, so we have 30 minutes. I just need to, so we'll leave it in that quarter off. All right. Any questions? Yes. Yes. Oh man, you know what? Matthew and I were talking about that, and it escapes me right now. You heard that before? All right. It escapes me right now, brother. I have to get back to you that, but it's not what we think it is. All right. That's what I just don't know exactly. House servant or something like that. It's a word of actually servitude. Right. The word of servitude. That's we were talking about that before, but let me get back to you on that so I can be more documented with it. All right, any other questions? All right, I'll continue. Yes. Ask me questions, y'all. Ask me questions. We got a question over here. Yes. All right, the question is, you know what I figured? I just remember I needed to do that for the Blog Talk Show. The question is, what period did the Europeans think the world was flat? All right, let me say this, brother. Let me say this. We built Moorish universities in Europe. Europeans studied at Moorish universities. Europeans were not dumb. They studied at Moorish universities. Poor Europeans were able to get a very, very, very good education. So this whole concept that Christopher Columbus and all that is bull, ma'am. That's bull. They studied under, see, the paradigm is false. This Europeans were all dumb. They studied. We taught them. We made education available also for the Europeans. It was not just for Moors. It was for Europeans. Cordoba had a library with over 600,000 books. 17 libraries. I'm giving some information. So this Christopher Columbus didn't know where he was going. You know what I mean? That's bull. His father was that maps. All right? Another question. Yes. I'll have to move on. We'll have to move on for that because I'm not solid in it. I would have to do documents, so I would like to have documentation on it to show it. All right? I'm very big on documentation, All right? Something I did see, I can't recall where it is, so let's pass on that. All right, go ahead. No, I'm not from. That's. I haven't done that area of research. All right. You said what? Give me the name again. Then I haven't done that area of research, so it would just be speculation. Because you asking for more detail. Yeah, right. I haven't. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Yes. Right. I haven't done that, and I don't. One thing that I try to stay away from is speculation. I don't want to speculate. I want to show you documentation. I want to show you to guide you in the right, and I can't right now. All right? I could guide you in where to possibly do research. You would look at historical societies in that area. Historical societies. I can do that. I can do that for you. That's one thing I can do. I can guide you in area of research. I can do that, right? Historical societies in that particular area, all right? Another question. 20. You said years. Oh, I heard years, so 20. You said years, right? 20. I'm 20. I'm serious. I spent in 1997, which is not in this book, part 2. I went to the National Archives in Philadelphia. I spent 5 or 6 months going there for. It was open on. I worked during the week, so I couldn't go during the week when it was during the weekend. It was open every other Saturday for 4 or 5 straight months. Every other Saturday, I went to the National Archives. Found a lot of letters. That's 1997. In 1998, I came across the Consolidated Treatises, Rutgers University Law Library, 3rd floor, which would be the treaties or some of the treaties on here. That was 1998. National Archives. It's also in the Library of Congress. Now it's National Archives in Philadelphia. They call it the Continental Papers. William Carmichael, when he was a minister of his papers are in the National Archives. Also, you have which are Continental Congress, the big letters with us. Also, came across. I went to the 1998 the Germantown Historical Society, and I found additional letters. That was 1998 as well. So that's way. And then Todd gave me George Washington letter in 1993, and I read that several times. But this is how the research began. This is in chapter 1. And reading the letter, I was thinking, well, this letter, there's a broader context to this letter. George Washington's letter to Muhammad ibn Abdullah, they say dated December 1st, 1789. RVBey gave me the letter in 1993, October or November 1993. I read the letter several times. The way my mind works is that there's a much broader context to the letter. I didn't know the much broader context. A much broader context. And that thinking began that book. That thinking, that letter, and that thinking began this book. To put the letter in a much broader context. That's what I did. So George Washington's letter, though it's not in here, it's in a much broader context. Because in the letter, George Washington talks about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. He thanks the Sultan for honoring the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the Moroccan Empire, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Morocco, and the United States. That treaty was signed by Mohammed ibn Abdullah, Emperor Morocco, in June of 1786. It was ratified in January 1787. So then I looked at putting the treaty, I got you, in a much broader context. I came across the Consolidated Treaty Series in 1998 at Rutgers University Law Library on the third floor. And I said, that's an encyclopedia of treaties. I said, oh my gosh. Treaty between Morocco and the Netherlands, Morocco and France, Morocco and England, and other treaties too, but I was more interested in those. It took me 5 months to copy every treaty. The Dutch treaty between Morocco and Netherlands are in Dutch. The treaty between Morocco and France are in French. Between Morocco and England are in English. I had about 5 treaties between Morocco and England in this book, Moors and Treaty. So I said, wow, these are hidden treaties. So I started seeing the Treaty of Peace and Friendship in a much broader context. So what I began Moors and Treaty Part 2, because the book is almost done, Part 2. I began Moors and Treaty Part 2 with what I do is I make attentions. I have the treaty between England and Morocco. You have the Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the treaty during his reign. I have all those treaties listed. And I start Part 2 with those treaties, showing a smooth transition from book Part 1 to Part 2. So I put the treaty between Morocco and England protected the English ships from our raid. All right? So I showed that connection with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Other scholars don't do that. Other scholars just talk about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. But I put the Treaty of Peace and Friendship in that context of the treaty between Morocco and England, because they protected the English colonies and English ships. And that's where I show that connection. So that's how that started. It was like years of research and studying and analysis and, I couldn't find the treaties for 2 years, moving and stuff. So I went through a lot. Finance, I'm having finance, making copies and all this. I went through a whole lot. And I came across, over the past 3 years, the captivity narratives in the colony. I found that within the last 3 years. So the parade. I learned a lot about the parade in 2013 when I actually went there. All right. So this was an evolution that then took place over several years. That's how that came about. That's what I'm talking about. There's years of studying, understanding, development, growing with it. Any other questions? Thank you for that. Yes. So George Washington's letter, dated December 1st. I don't have the letter in the book. That's for part 2. Dated December 1st, 1789. You have the letter? Yeah. All right. In the letter, George Washington thanks His Imperial Majesty, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, for recognizing the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. George Washington mentions that there were Moorish regencies that were Moorish regencies in which there were issues that he had issues with. All right? In 1777, His Imperial Majesty recognized the United States in 1777. Samuel Huntington, President of the Continental Congress, Samuel Huntington, wrote a letter in 1780 to Muhammad ibn Abdullah, asking Muhammad ibn Abdullah to engage in a treaty of peace and commerce. So this is what I'm talking about, putting the letter in a broader context. So the letter don't exist outside of itself. So it was 10 years of negotiation and writing the Continental Congress and with this Treaty of Peace and Friendship. 1784, George Washington, Ben Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson were appointed as ministers plenipotentiary to negotiate a treaty with us in 1784. So this is what I was talking about, putting the letter in a much broader context. All right? Because just reading the letter doesn't give you that information. So the letter goes into a much broader context. And that's how my mind was working. So from one letter, now, but the letter that Todd gave me did not have any annotations. Annotations would be at the bottom section and would have references to other letters. Well, Sister Amira, you don't know her, she gave me George Washington's papers, the letter and the references, George Washington's paper. And in the letter, it had annotations. It referenced two of the letters. So I called the Library of Congress in summer of 1997, asking to get this letter. So what I said, let me see if they're going to send it to me. So they sent it to me, and I called them for the other letter. And then the librarian said to me, are you aware that there's a National Archives in Philadelphia? All right. She told me where. And I started going in September 1997. That's how that happened. And I started going with it, finding more information, letter. In fact, while I was there, in 1997, I think it was October, November, after being there for about 2 months, European librarian, she walked over to me. She says, excuse me, sir, I'm in my 20s then, mid-20s. She said, excuse me, sir, you've been coming here for a while and doing research on rare documents. They reserved because I actually had to ask them where I could find these information. They would let me know. So you've been coming here for a few months doing research on rare documents. You mind not asking you what you're doing research for? So I told her in my book, so forth. It wasn't called Moors and Masonry. I title changed 3 times before that. That's the title. Moors and Masonry is the title that Todd RVBey used in the article for the Al-Moroccan Star in 2002. That was a feature article for the Al-Moroccan Star called Moors and Masonry. That was the most popular article. So I was at Black and Nobel in 2010, and there was a husband and wife, a couple, at the counter. And Hakeem, the owner, Black and Nobel in Philadelphia, he said, Abdullah, tell them the title of your book. That title was, I can't remember the title. It was a long title. And he said, that's too long. So I'm thinking, so I called Todd, and that's when I used that title, Moors and Masonry. That's how. So it's evolved. I went through 3 titles, 3 or 4 different covers. I decided came across this came to my mind back in 2007. This cover, 2007. But I felt that the covers that I had before were not impactful enough. I wanted to make it jump. I want Europeans to jump. I want Europeans to go, I want Europeans to, I want Europeans to jump. I'm serious. I wanted the other titles, the other covers, they were not impacting us. See, with this cover, for those I have to explain for those who are listening, I have the landmass that they falsely call United States. Superimposed on the landmass is the Moorish flag, right? Red field with a 5-pointed green star. On the upper left corner of the landmass is the Moorish flag. On the upper right corner is the Great Seal that's on the back of the Federal Reserve note with the all-seeing eye. All right? For those who are listening. So, in an arc form, I have Taj, RVBey, Hanifa, Menil, Ras Mariah, Makaya, and Seton Ra. Below the landmass, I have the sort of from left to right as the Moorish Supreme Court building, the Moorish Capitol building, and the Moorish White House. See how I'm doing it? Or Moorish Palace. All right? White House is fine. All right? And below that, I have 4 Europeans. 3 of them are mystics, mystic order of the Veiled Prophet of the Enchanted Realm, established in Hamilton, New York in 1850, and 1 Shriner wearing our Moorish feathers. And written above them is who are these imposters? So I placed us in our proper position. So this is why I thought that this cover would speak to that. All right? So that's how that came. Like 2007, came up with the idea for this cover. All right? To be honest with you, there were days that I didn't think I would ever get it done. You know, tired, you know, working at, thought I would never get it done. You know, I would have to hide at work because, I started making people, co-workers and stuff up, security guards, administrators, substitute teachers, maintenance workers, matron workers, and then, I'm in the teachers now, and then they come in, they want to talk to me about my books and stuff. I couldn't get them. I'm like, oh, no. That's during my break time. So you know what? I had to start hiding I had to find a room, empty room, to do my work, during my break free time. Because I would end up spending the whole period talking to them about my book. Because see, this is how it works. Once they found out I'm working on a book, even the students, I became I'm not seeking that, some semi-celebrity to them. No, serious, because, I am writing a book. I'm writing a book. So they're like, I don't view myself as that. They saying I don't even. In fact, one of my coworkers who retired, Mr. Floyd, he said, Bear, I was outside his classroom. This was 2011. He said, hey, you couldn't tell that you write books and do lectures and stuff like that because you modest. You humble. You don't. He said that. I didn't say that. He said that. And of course I'm telling people about that, because I'm informing them about what I do. But yeah, it's like you get a certain level of respect for literature. You already say never change the literature. You must change the people. Change the people must change the literature. Literature brings you a certain level of respect. And I wanted to no longer use the spiral binding. I wanted to use the rib binding. A more professional, glossy cover. All right. Any other questions? So did I satisfy you with that answer? George Washington's letter? All right? My answer is more, because I put the letter in the broader perspective in part 2. All right? But keep in mind, part 1 is connected to that letter too. I put it in the broader perspective. Because things didn't just happen in 1789 in which he wrote the letter. Or in 1787 in which the treaty was signed. How did that come about? All right? That's how I think. All right? We have 3 minutes because I really wanted, because people want to get the boy have to sign, and I don't want us to, What's that? Yeah, absolutely. Who's y'all? I don't know. HARLEM started the round table. Because I couldn't say y'all. HARLEM established the round table in 1982. So I got to give credit with I can't. You saying y'all? HARLEM. When HARLEM established the round table in 1982. Go ahead. George Washington said something about the Moor.
The Moorish and then put them in slavery. I don't know the exact.
Where you get? Where's the reference is that? Where's the reference?
They say it was in the Continental Journal.
I haven't seen that. I'm not saying that that's not so. Once again, brother, this is me. I tend to stay away from speculation. If I can't show you that that's what it reads, I will never say it. Brother, if I can't show you a document that reads that, I am not going to say it. I trust you to do the same. We need to stay away from innuendos and speculations and conjecture. We don't need. If it was said, show me the letter or reference or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, you still believe. All right. Then you just still believe into speculation of what. All right. I just stick with what I can support, what I can reference. You know I'm not just coming out of showing y'all. I'm not going to do that. All right. So we're going to end only because I need to. People want to get the book, so I need time. All right. 100 for you. All right. So you want to say and end it?
Allah. But I was there doing the record. See that again. Allah, Father of the universe. Allah, Father of the universe. Father of love. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through the prophet. Through Ali. Also known as Sheikh Abdul Ali.
Amen. I don't, brother.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleep.